Hello everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be canning strawberry lemonade concentrate. It's strawberry season and, really good strawberries only last for a certain period of time. And so this is a great way to get the delicious taste of summer in your pantry so you can enjoy it all year long. I'm Rebecca from StockingMyPantry.com. Okay, so I got this recipe from the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. If you are, even if you're not new to canning, this is a great book. This is the first canning book that I ever bought, and I definitely recommend it as one worth picking up because it just has a lot of great information. There's a lot of canning books on the market that have great recipes, but this has some good classic recipes as well as just a lot of great information about canning in general. So anyway, without further ado, let's get right into it. And oh, by the way, I will be canning this in my Nesco canner, but any water bath canner will do. So at the very end, I'll give some brief instructions on the Nesco, but don't worry about it at all if that's not the type of canner that you have. Okay, let's go ahead and get right into it. It calls for 6 cups of whole strawberries. So it's not real precise. I use 2 pounds. And I've heard some other people say 3 pounds. So it, unfortunately, a lot of it depends on the size of the strawberries and all of that, how much it takes to make 6 cups. So anyway, that's what the recipe calls for. It's measured before you puree them. You'll see that I'm going to puree them. The measuring is while they're just whole, not pureed. The next thing is 4 cups of lemon juice. Now I have a mason jar here that is full, filled pretty much to the tip top. That makes 4 cups. And then also 6 cups of sugar. And yes, that is a ton of sugar. That's the main reason I haven't done this before. But I look at it as it'll be a great occasional treat, something special. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with how to do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the instructions in the cookbook and are in this canning book, and so we'll go through it step by step. Okay, so it says prepare canner jars and lids. I already have my jars in hot water heated up in my Nesco, and so they're all ready to go. And oh, by the way, this says that it makes 7 pints. I only have 5-pint jars ready to go. If there's extra, I'll just put it in the refrigerator and we'll use it sooner rather than later. Okay, so that's my plan for that. But so I have 5-pint jars in my Nesco. If you have a different canner or you want to do, more than one batch or whatever, go ahead and get 7 jars ready just in case. Okay, and then it says, in a blender or a food processor fitted with a metal blade, working in batches, puree strawberries until smooth. Now, I have a Vitamix, and it does a pretty good job. I mean, I can make peanut butter in here, so I think if I can make peanut butter, it can handle me dumping all of the strawberries in at one time. But depending on the blender or food processor that you have, you might want to do it in batches. I do have my tamper here, and so if need be, I'll tamp it down, but we'll see how it goes. So as expected, the Vitamix did quick work of that. It didn't take long. It's finely pulverized. So I was able to do it in only one batch, but if you want to batch them, do it in smaller batches, that's fine. Now it says to transfer this to a large stainless steel pot. Okay, so I have it in the pot. All of the strawberries are in the pot, and man, it's already smelling good. I love strawberries. So the next thing that you need to do is you just combine the lemon juice and the sugar in the pot. And I'm just going to stir it. The next step in the instructions is to heat to 190 degrees Fahrenheit over medium-high heat, stirring occasionally. Do not boil. And then remove from the heat and skim off foam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to my stove and I'm going to put it on medium-high heat, heating it and stirring it occasionally until it comes up to 190 degrees. And then I'll be turning off the heat and skimming off the foam. Now I am going to film that, and so what I'm going to do is I'll just be, you'll see this, I'll intersperse little video clips of me doing that, and then I'll bring you back for the next part. Okay, so that took a little longer than I anticipated. I'd guess around 20 minutes. Maybe it could have gone faster, but I didn't want to bring it to a boil. I did skim off the foam. I wasn't able to skim off all of it. Well, I could have if I just kept going and going, but a little bit of foam won't hurt. So, okay, so the next thing is that we're going to fill the jars. And remember, these jars are hot, which is important because this is obviously hot. I kept these jars in my Nesco the whole time that I've been working. And I've just had hot water in there, and I've had the lid closed, and so they have stayed hot. So we'll just go ahead and fill the jars. And these are supposed to be 1/4 inch headspace, okay? So hardly any headspace at all. And since this is liquid, we don't need to debubble like we normally would. You know, this is looking like I may not even get 5 pints. We'll see. And I know I'm shy on the headspace right now. I'm going to add a little bit to each one when I get a little closer. By the way, I think you definitely want to use a canning funnel when you're doing this, or you might end up with just a huge mess. Okay, so this is actually going to be perfect. I don't think I'm going to have much left at all by the time I bring all of these up to a 1/4 inch headspace. So I'm going to use this headspace tool. Yeah, I can even put just a teeny bit more. So basically, I'll just be bringing all of these up to the 1/4 inch headspace. So 5 pints is working perfect, but again, I used 2 pounds of strawberries. So if you use a little bit more strawberries, then your results may vary a little bit. Yeah, I can put just a teensy bit more in each one, and I won't have any left over. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to wipe the rims and put the lids on. And I often use vinegar when I wipe the rims, but this doesn't have anything oily or anything like that. So I am just using water, and thankfully I don't really think I made much of a mess. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but I've got maybe a teeny spot of pink on here, kind of pinkish red. But anyway, so we'll go ahead and get the lids on, and we'll put the bands on fingertip tight. And then we'll get them in the canner. And plug it in. And these jars are super hot, so I'm going to use a jar lifter to put them into the canner. And it's already filled with very hot water, And I might need to add a little bit more to cover the lids, but you want to cover your lids regardless of which canner you're using. You want to cover them by at least 1 inch of water. This almost did it. So what I did when I heated my jars, I put a 1/2 gallon of water in, and then I filled my jars with water, my pint jars, my 5 pints, and heated that up. And then when I took the jars out, I left the water in, and that was almost enough to cover the jars, so they're good and hot. Okay, now I know that you can't see into that, and that's okay. I do have a separate video where I show you step by step everything, including pouring the water in, covering the lids and everything, so I'll link to that. But let's go ahead and let's get this canner started. Okay, so again, looking back at the instructions, it says that this needs to process for 15 minutes, adjusting for altitude. If you don't know how to do that, I've got a separate video on that I'll link to. But I am in an altitude of around 1,650 feet, so I need to process mine for 5 minutes extra, so I will put 20 minutes in mine. If you're 1,000 feet or below, you would do 15 minutes. So water bath time. Whoops. And again, the time was 15 minutes, so I'm going to do 20 minutes, and then I will press start. One thing I forgot to mention is that the valve is in the exhaust position. You always start in the exhaust position, but with water bath canning, you leave it in the exhaust position the entire time. Okay, so that's all I'm going to show you now. I'll bring you back to show you the end product and give you my final thoughts. So see you in just a bit. Okay, so the jars are all finished processing. There wasn't any siphoning. They look great. You can see. Beautiful color. I did notice there were a couple of them that had some foam. So not a ton, but there is some on a couple. But so I didn't get all the foam skinned off. The foam is not going to hurt anything. It just kind of doesn't look as nice in the jar. And so anyway, so that's not a big deal. One thing I wanted to mention is to reconstitute this. The instructions in the book say to do 1 part concentrate to 1 part water and then adapt it for taste. So I recommend starting with that, just opening a pint, putting it into a pitcher, and then adding in a pint of water. Taste it, and if you think that it's maybe a little stronger than you want, you can add some more water. What I'm actually planning to do is to do 1 pint of water, 1 pint of concentrate, and then a whole bunch of ice, and put it in my Vitamix and just blend it up so I have a little bit, kind of like a little bit of a slushy type of a thing. So I think that'll be really good. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you would like the video, and if you haven't already done so, if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great canning videos. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.